Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining me today. This camera's tripping out on me already. Give me 2 minutes to get into Facebook land. Thank you for joining me today. Today is my first Saturday of every month. I've done this for the last 3 months, I think now, and I'm inviting your feedback as far as times. Today I'm doing it a little bit earlier. I've normally been doing these in the evenings, and I know some of you come summer certainly have a life. So give me some feedback today. If you are joining me, I'm going to give it a few minutes here just to flip to the group here. So give me 2 secs. Right, share to a group. Lifepro. Thank you for your patience. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So whether you're joining me today as a seasoned user, or perhaps you're just getting started, maybe you've had a recent medical issue or a fall off your bike. There's lots of different reasons that people join me for these Saturdays, and I invite your questions. I'm going to start today with a little ramble on some basics. Hang on. Sorry about that. In today's event, I posted a real quick and dirty, it's about 7 minutes crash course, and it covers seated and standing use. Today is going to be a little bit more about your questions, and I want to invite you to ask them to me. Now that I'm seeing I'm live, I've got a few of you there. If someone would be generous enough. Hello, Miss Wilson. You made it. Thank you for joining me. I'm assuming if you're on the other end, you can see and hear me. And if that's not the case, please let me know before I get into my ramble. I've got my chair back there, so I'm like kneeling down so that you can actually see my face. Maybe this works. I have this awesome media cabinet with a keyboard and everything. I just have my pewter on top. Today will be recorded as well. So depending on where questions go, if for some reason you can't stay for the entire session today and you have a specific question for me, I invite you to post that in the comments. I will get to comments here shortly. Wanda says, yes, I can see and hear you. So does Kim. Hello, Laura. Does seated use still burn calories and activate muscles? It can. And I think you'll find the theme of today is very much, it depends what you do on the plate, and it depends on where you personally are starting at. So I'm going to get started with my quick little intro. All of my sessions are always in oscillating movement. Oscillating mimics how we walk. It is the most preferred movement. It's kind of naturally how we walk across the floor as a feeling. It is also probably the most widely available type of movement. So a lot of you, I'm really trying to change the terminology in the world, but it's not any one model or how much you spend on a plate in some understanding. It's understanding there's different movement types. There are combo machines, but all of Lifepro's models have oscillating movement. It is the foundational movement of vibration plates. It's what started it all. And again, it kind of naturally mimics how we walk across the floor. So it feels good when you're on it. Understanding the settings and how to navigate things like the intensity, how strong it feels, and speeds are something I know I get a lot of questions about, and a lot of you probably have questions about. There are some research studies out there that indicate, certain frequencies or certain types of exercises are effective for certain things, but there's so many things a vibration plate can do. Within each movement type, they each have their own performance characteristics. So they move differently. The specs are different. So to benefit most of you, regardless of what Lifepro model you may be using or considering, perhaps if you're just still in your research phase, I do all of my demonstrations in oscillating for a couple of reasons. So yes, it's what's available on all of Lifepro's models. But for me as a trainer of almost 20 years, most of the benefits people are looking to accomplish in the chronic world, which is where I spend most of my time. Oscillating is going to give you some, there's a little bit more you can control and customize to your experience. So once you kind of understand how to navigate your level of comfort in oscillating mode, if you do have a machine with combo that offers lateral or pulsation, which is a kind of a vertical or a lineal style, just a micro version of that, it's easier to navigate and combine and do those types of things. So I'm starting seated, and if you're fearful at all, if you're dealing with any deficiencies, if you're not to be bearing weight, if you had a poor experience starting out, perhaps you're just weak or you are at risk of falling. There are lots of ways that never get discussed. As you know, it's always, can I use a machine, yes or no? And it's never that black and white. There's a million ways you can modify how you use the plate, which is just a tool. And in this example, reducing body weight, sitting in a stool, get a feel for it, get some life in the legs before we proceed to standing. So think functionally. I want you starting with your feet about hip width apart. Forget what you've read in the manual or may have seen in discussions online. 70 to 80% of you are dealing with some type of deficiency. So you can play the max time and max intensity when you're prepared. But if you're fearful at all dealing with any conditions, be conservative. And when I say conservative, not slow, I'm referring to the intensity. And in oscillating movement, there's a mentality, well, I should stand with my feet really wide. And for many of you that have markers on your plate, it says jogging. If jogging is not something that is kind to your body and you suffer after doing something like that, why would you put your feet on the jogging position? It doesn't feel like much is going on. You feel more movement. For those of you that are looking at toning or perhaps dropping a few pounds, it feels like things are shaking off. But wide is max impact, max intensity. So more functional is hip width apart. Be natural, hip width apart. And if it's scary still and you want to reduce the amount of movement even further, you can bring your feet dead center. And this is a good way to play with higher speeds or programs. We don't often think about the position of our feet or our hands if we're doing upper body positions. So have the feet comfortably about hip width apart. And instead of being wide and starting slow, the slow speeds in oscillating are very choppy. They're very wobbly. They're destabilizing. They're kind of like a Bosu ball. So again, if you're dealing with poor balance, stability, the last thing you want to do is destabilize yourself. With your feet closer, and it'll be more comfortable because there's less intensity, bring your plate up to a mid-speed setting. My Rumblex Plus that I'm using today has 60 speeds, so I'm bringing her up to about 30. If you have a waiver that goes 100, bring it up to 50. If you've got a hexa plate that goes up to 120, the point is I always speak in ranges, because what I truly want you to do is not go with what's been defined in the manual or what I say. I want you to learn what's comfortable for you, where you're at physically, and whatever position it is that you're doing at the time. So just by sitting here and having your feet move, one of the questions I had that I'll address first, am I activating any muscles? Am I burning calories? You know, we have to put our common sense hat on to a degree. No, you're not completely inactive. But if you were doing that versus something like this, who thinks I'm burning more calories doing something like this than like this? Okay. Many of you are starting in a place where you're not able to stand on the plate or do functional fitness positions. So you kind of got to start where you are, but your effort in your exercises and the type of exercises you do on the plate are absolutely going to relate to what I call fitness gains, which I'll get to here in a little bit later. Most of my people using plates or that I'm supporting are using them for symptom management. So seated, yes, you're burning a few calories, but not as much as if a little bit of effort is put forth and appropriate positions. Right now, there are what's going on as I refer to, I'm tripping on my tongue today. There are certain benefits that I call perpetual or ever occurring or ongoing, forever benefits. Things that happen every single time you use the plate to some degree. The first thing that's occurring is a turbo boost in circulation and lymphatic movement. And if you're dealing with a chronic condition, you can use a faster speed, less intensity to get a few more movements in, more action. I think you'll find the mid speeds are smoother, less choppy, which are great for things like inflammation, hypermobile joints, arthritic joints. Lots of impact and choppy movement does not feel good. So if you're using a plate for symptom management, the first common question that I get from everybody is how long and how often can I use it? It depends what you're using it for, and it depends on the body you're applying. So if you're coming from a deconditioned place and you're using it for symptom management, just give yourself a week or two to get used to it. Start improving that circulation, that lymph. Balance is another forever benefit. Every time you use an oscillating moving plate, your balance will improve in some way, shape, or form, even seated. It's a great way to, for those of you that are at a risk of falling, working on the bone density, the balance or vertigo is there, starting even seated just to get a little life in the legs. 1 to 2 minutes is what I refer to as a spot treatment. Don't go any longer than 5. If you're a newer user, give it a week or 2 for your body to get used to it, and use it more often. So I've already rambled 4 minutes, but 2 to 3 minutes to get that circulation, that lymph going, first thing in the morning, perhaps before you go to sleep, before other activities. For those of you that are dealing with lymphatic issues, I often talk about prepping the pathways, getting the lymph system prepped. One of the reasons, if you are dealing with lymphatic issues, poor circulation, venous insufficiency, anything to do with your systems functioning inadequately, you don't want to turbo blast a whole bunch of lymph and circulation. So another reason to keep it brief. For those of you that are limited to seated positioning for starting out, there are ways, of course, that we can target the upper body while you're sitting. To the question again earlier, am I burning calories if I'm just sitting? If you add more movements, you can do all kinds of things while there's all these chair yoga exercises. Roseanne's done some really awesome sessions. You can do those while seated, and you're getting more stimulation, more benefit, because we're incorporating the plate in those little extra micro movements into what it is you're doing. So for upper body, 2 ways to introduce it. For those of you that have vertigo, neck sensitivity, ear issues, try and relax. It's never the plate, it's the fighting and the resisting the plate that gives us issue. When you fight and you resist this stimulation, you are rigid and you're bouncing all over. So stop the guarding and the protecting. Try and just relax. Take your hands and place them on your knees. And you'll feel right away, lock those arms, a little bit of movement up into the forearms, the elbows, maybe the shoulders. Lean your body just slightly forward and incorporate more body weight. So you're actually resting on the heels of those hands, kind of on the back of the kneecaps, and you'll feel it becomes much more intense. If it's too much action for the neck and the shoulders, the legs might be fine. Remember our intensity lesson. Bring the feet closer. Oh, that feels better, Debbie. So if you do have a known issue, you've gotten vertigo in the past, you tend to have, head vibe issues, I'll call it. Bring the feet closer, position the hands, and then just sort of see what feels best for your tolerance. Keep the speed a little bit faster and make the adjustments with the feet. So the intensity really depends on the exercise you're doing and the body part you're targeting. For those of you that are feeling, this ain't too bad, maybe I'll widen up a little bit. Depending on how you feel, you may have good days and bad days. Many do. So on your bad days, start with the feet a little bit closer, because if you're feeling okay, or perhaps you've loosened up a little bit, maybe we add some shoulder rolls. What do you do while you're seated at your desk? All you're using, your body is bridging the gap, and it's sending this movement up to the upper body so that you can get those micro movements up there without having to get onto the ground and do something more functional, like a push-up perhaps, or baby planks, as I call them. We're not going to be getting onto the ground today. This would be a 5-hour session. But again, I talked 10 minutes already, so I'm going to bring it back to my mid-speed. For those of you that are enjoying this and maybe you want a little bit more intensity or you feel you're ready for a bit more intensity, don't widen the feet. Keep those feet about hip width apart in your seated exercises. But the next progression would be elbows. If range of motion allows, bring those elbows over onto the knees and you'll feel now we're hitting more directly the shoulders, but up into those shoulder blades, the base of the neck, into those bra strap areas. You can lean in a little bit, sit up a little taller, maybe lean one side more than the other. It really depends on how you feel, okay? Do a couple of movements. 2 to 3 minutes combining this. If you prefer not to just, sit for a minute, maybe add the elbows, hands, experiment. What I hope to leave you with today is less fear, the willingness to experiment, and especially for the symptom management, the feel good, the relaxation stuff. Do what feels good, but use it more often in shorter sessions versus 10 minutes 5 times a day. These machines, in theory, reduce the amount of time that you have to do movement or exercise and bring less benefit forth with a little bit less effort. So many of you are buying this as a time saver, and I see that you're up to 30 minutes a day, 3 times a day within the first week. It's very easy to overdo it on a vibration plate, and if you're coming from a place of inactivity, deconditioning, a lot of times overdoing it can present, muscle soreness and pain. And if you're dealing with other chronic issues, sometimes you forget what exercise pain feels like. And you think something's wrong because you were so sore or so swollen or so itchy or going to the bathroom so much. Once your body systems start moving and things start improving, there's all kinds of things that happen through activity. This is just an activity hack, if you will. So reduce the time, use it more often, and give your body a week or 2 to see how things go. So we're going to start with some standing. So for exercise, if you are limited to seated, if you prefer seated, there's a bazillion variation sessions I've done on seated. I will drop some of my more common and popular sessions once I get back after the recording is up. So standing, lesson number 1, in case you didn't notice, bend the knees. There's no cardinal rule saying you can't lock your knees. It's not going to be very pleasant, and the knees will probably be sore if you do this for 10 minutes. But it drives all the movement up your body towards the neck and the head. So anybody talking head vibes or vertigo or my ears are ringing or my teeth are dentures or flying out of my mouth, make sure the knees are bent, but bent enough. If you stand too tall, play with this. The taller you stand, you can hear it in my voice, bend the knees a little bit more. You see how the voice even suppresses. The deeper you go, the more the load, the stability, everything that's going on suppresses into the legs. This would be more referred to as fitness. Okay, so make sure that we're standing and we're feeling it probably no much more than the collarbone. Feel free to have your chair behind you. Perhaps you're dealing with fatigue issues, you lack stamina. There's a million reasons that you may not have endurance. So you can stand maybe for a little bit and do a bit more seating while I continue some talking if you need to. So for those of you standing, if this feels comfortable, balance is okay. Make sure that we've got that core engaged, the posture's there. I don't want you looking like this. Stand. And before I do anything, if you've never joined one of my sessions before, pelvic tilt is my move. I love standing, getting a little bit of movement in those hips. I spend too much time sitting. I spent too much time lifting. I've been dealing with some kind of back thing here for the last month. So before I do anything, I just loosen up a little bit. Call this my warm up. Experiment. Maybe you want to, swing your arms or do some circles. The more that you do while you're on this plate, the more benefit you're going to get. Just like this on the floor, you're getting some benefit, but you're going to get more if you do movement. Okay. For those of you that are focused on strong bones, you're being proactive. There is no setting. There is no perfect frequency. There is no better movement type. Bone density, bone strength, muscle strength is about bearing your mass and forcing your muscles and your bones beyond what they're used to. If you're just standing here and doing what you're used to on the floor, your body is going to make your muscles and your bones as strong as they need to be to perform the task that you ask it to perform. If you're willing to go a little deeper, you do not have to move up and down. If you have troublesome joints, this is probably a better starting point. You'll feel just by bending a little bit deeper, kind of like you're getting ready to sit in that chair, the muscles have to work a little harder. You're feeling it in your butt and your quads and your bones. You don't feel it, but your bones are going, oh, well, you're pushing us a little bit. We're going to have to lay down more new bone material to support this activity. So you can just stand, but long term, you're going to get a little bit more benefit if you add things to the equation. I'm dating myself, but anybody know Pee Wee Herman? There's a million things you can do. Dance, sing. The more you can incorporate into the time that you're here, the more benefit you're going to get. For those of you that are dealing with those fatigue issues, you're just starting to stand, you're lacking on time, but you want to get those muscles to a point of fatigue, you want to work them, pick up some mass. So if you are unable to bend, but you want to work the muscles and the bones harder, another way that you can do that is by adding mass to the equation. I've only picked up 10 pounds, so I probably could have picked up a bit more. Maybe instead of just hanging on to it, you want to work on some arm strength too. So maybe we're doing some slight movements or some slight torso turns or some stretching things out front. Maybe we're doing something like this. There's a bazillion variations of exercises on this planet, and this is just an environment that brings more benefit, reduces time, and while you're on a vibration plate, it's kind of also boosting recovery at the same time. So depending on the reasons that drew you to look at a vibration plate, because the benefits that a vibration plate offers is the same benefits that exercise and being active or just moving offer. This is just a way to increase effectiveness, reduce time, and for those of you that require, maybe you are dealing with medical conditions and you lack the ability to do traditional activities, you can sustain something like this because of its low impact nature. You can get those muscles to a level of fatigue before the bad knee or the hip or the shoulder quits on you. So keep your durations short. If you are looking for fitness gains, make sure that you are doing appropriate positions. Most of us don't exercise for purpose. And I think a lot of the questions I get about the fitness benefits are simply, what do I do? What does a bone density program look like? What does a lymphedema program look like? What is an MS program? Just because you may or may not have a medical condition, you're still a person that probably had goals before you got that diagnosis. So you don't necessarily, for a medical condition, need to do anything special or separate to treat those symptoms. You can get exercise benefits and relief while you're doing whatever it is that you're doing on the plate. If you are dealing with a concern where their mobility or you're below baseline for any reason, this may be an adequate tool to be able to do exercise. So it boils down to a bit of a discipline piece. And between myself, Roseanne, and Amber, there's a bazillion different topics on exercise examples. You can check on Google. I've covered just a different few examples today. I want to get to some questions because I see there's many of them being posted. But the biggest lesson is keep it brief starting out. Keep your intensity, your feet or your hands conservative by bringing them closer, and experiment. There is no set it and forget it approach. I know much of the marketing is that way. A lot of the research is that way. But what I'm finding after 20 years of supporting folks like you, everybody's got different goals. Everybody's got a different body type. And, most of us aren't the 40-year-old triathletes that were doing the bone density study 30, 40 years ago. So my job is kind of like to be the translator. What type of body are you dealing with? What are your deficiencies? Maybe you're getting ready for surgery. Maybe you're recovering from it. It's never a yes or no. It's a matter of modifying what you do to cater to the body you're trying to do it in, if that makes sense. And once you kind of understand and how to navigate the different settings and that intensity being a big one, with the foot and the hand position, there's really no speed or program or combination of movements that you can't try, because you kind of know how to control things if they get too strong or too much for your own situation. So I want to see who's here visiting me today. I know my girl Kim is here. Hello, Wanda. Thank you for being here. I know you've been here in the past sessions with me. Laura again. Leslie is here. Hello, Leslie. I'm going to say hi to everybody first. Tell me where you guys are from too, because I did flip this out to my channels overseas. I'm always curious who might be joining me, perhaps on a late Saturday evening or Sunday. Laura, Barbara. Okay, so let me get to some questions here. The first one was, Laura asked, does seated use still burn calories and activate muscles? Now, I know I brought that one up at the beginning. For those of you that can't do squats and push-ups, you kind of got to start where you are. So seated use can still, of course, it can burn calories. It's going to boost lymph and circulation. But if you are limited to seating and you're stuck in that situation for a while due to whatever reason, you can incorporate hand weights. There's the resistance bands that come with the plates themselves. The big thing I encourage you, if you are seated, is you can do more than just sit. Especially if you do have other goals. So if you had something, if there's a medical thing that you're dealing with, Laura, please let me know. Sometimes there's something, one-sided that's more of an issue than on the other leg. So that there's ways also that you can expose one side of the body versus the whole body standing on it. I've done a couple sessions on that. If you want to just sit and let the machine do all the work and you're hoping to lose 60 pounds, regardless, you're going to have to do some type of change in other areas of your life, and you are going to have to progress in some way, shape, or form. The body gets used to anything after a period of time, so you do need to mix things up and change things up from time to time. Otherwise, we're just maintaining, if that makes sense. But if you are dealing with something medically or there's something affecting you, please give me a little more detail and I can elaborate on that for you, Laura. Happy to. Leslie says, cancer survivor and newly diagnosed osteopenia. I need help and don't want to do drugs. Good for you. The biggest results I've seen in my 20 years, especially with bone density, are my consistent users. I really think, and I was around when there was just medical grades and there was no Amazon. And what I've seen as the market has evolved and the affordable machines are available, you're not using these big fancy medical devices. And most of these machines are not capable of the specifications that a lot of the marketing entails. But I'm seeing all these reverses of osteopenia. I've seen people bedridden go completely upright and have no diagnosis at all. I'm not a doctor that tracks these as a case study, but I have been fortunate enough to have clients on these machines for almost 20 years. The regular users, the ones that are using them regularly for their lymph, their balance, because it just feels good. Those little short 2 to 3 minute sessions throughout the day, whenever you need an energy boost, those are they weren't necessarily looking for bone density, but it's my regular consistent users that are winning the race on the bone density. If you do have other goals, you want to tone up, you want to strengthen the legs, whatever the goals may be, simply by adding, some light squats like I talked about today, some weight, that you don't have to do something separate for the bones. While you're doing your regular activities, it's the weight bearing exposure, the time you're spending on your 2 feet that win the race. So you don't have to be an exercise guru, but for the bone density, that consistent use is going to be key. If it's been depleted because of treatments or other things, and you're kind of in a catch-up phase, please, you have to absolutely make sure you're giving your body the nutrients it needs to support the activity. And if you're dealing with any lymphatic issues, post-cancer treatment, perhaps some do, it's just another reason for that. When we move, lymph moves. So lymph is another reason that you want to use the machine regularly. When the body tells you it needs a fix, the swollen ankles, the thickness or the heavy legs at the end of the day, swollen feet. These are all signs that your calf muscles, they do a lot of work returning fluid uphill against gravity. They're smaller than the rest of the muscles. They're passing it all through. So good calf strength And if you do spend your feet down all day, standing, seated, some regular movement is the best way to help that lymph move and dissipate and help your system move it along. So use it frequently before you head out the door, when you get home. And if you're dealing with compromised lymph, I did mention, prepping. There's a video I can share that I've done in my group with a certified lymphatic therapist. And, it's really quick, and it's not just as a prior to vibration plate thing. They're just really effective at the circulation and the lymph. So that's why I want you to be conservative on time with that one. But if you are dealing with congested, sluggish lymph, you're in a detox phase, make sure that you help the body and do some prep work first. I hope that makes sense. And ask me back any questions as well. Laura has elaborated, just had a knee replacement and breaking myself in slowly. My chiropractor recommended that I sit on it so I don't loosen up my back and hips. Or so I do. I find sitting directly on the plate, depending on your range of motion, it's not the getting down, it's the getting back up that sometimes can be a challenge. So I don't want you doing anything that you're not comfortable doing and screwing up that knee. What you could do, if you are at the point where you're bearing weight and you're able to stand, put the good leg on the machine, option 1, or you can stand and hold the bad knee off it. This really, a lot of this relates if you have experience using your machine and playing around prior to the surgery. If you do not have experience using a vibration plate before you've had a joint replacement or some major invasive surgery, you haven't been through the fear and the itchiness and the moving and feeling better phase yet. So I don't want you going through all that newbie stuff and the fear and the knee, because you don't know what it used to feel like. So seated in the chair and just isolate the one good side for now. Really depending on the knee itself. There isn't a black and white answer as far as when it's okay to absolutely use it. It really is more in line with when you are able to return to your regular activities. So if you're able to go to the gym, if you're able to start walking your dog again, and your chiro has said it's time to resume those, that's a discussion more with your care provider. The vibration plate is just a tool for the activity. So it's more a matter of should you be bearing weight on it or not yet. And when you do resume, whether you're a new or a seasoned user, keep those sessions again brief, purposeful, and reduce the intensity. Put that surgery, the knee leg, right in the middle of the machine. There's practically no movement. And you can reach out to me on that. I've actually done a session, knees, good knees, bad knees, or something like that. There was a smart ass little name that I used. I'll post that one in here for you, Laura. But yeah, keep in touch with your care providers as far as when you're able to bear weight and resume your activities. If you're an existing user and you're dying to use it because you miss it and you know how good it made you feel, there's always a way to modify. Maybe you're putting, I like putting the Aeroflex step beside the plate and put the surgery leg on the step. You're the same height as the plate, and just put the good leg on the plate. It's doing all the extra work, and it could probably use some attention too. Barbara says, is it good for lymphedema? Oh my goodness, girl, where have you been? I have a group with over 20,000 members, specifically supports lipedema, lymphedema, Durkheim disease, common thread being that there's lots of lymphatic issues. So when you're dealing with lymphedema, it depends where things are compromised. But this is one of those main reasons I want people to be ultra conservative on time. You can move a lot of fluid in 10 to 15 minutes on your preset time. And, let's say it's in your legs. All of a sudden, you're going to have big arms tomorrow because your body's just not able to effectively dissipate all that movement yet. So a vibration plate is probably the number one tool I recommend that's going to give you not only symptom management relief, but it's going to be ultra effective for any fitness goals when you feel ready to get going on that. Perhaps you're doing those type of things now, but it's going to give you lymph in addition to what you would normally get through exercise movement. I've done in April, I did a big lymphedema awareness day. So if you just search Debby with a Y in the search field and lymphedema, you're going to see tons of past sessions. This week, actually on Tuesday, I did a lipedema, Liped. I'm spelling it wrong. Lipedema. It's Lipedema Awareness Month, and It's not as commonly known, although it should be. There's probably 1 in 9 women walking around, primarily presents with women. But a lot of times it's misdiagnosed as lymphedema, and there are some slight differences, but many have both. So I think you'll find this past Tuesday session of interest as well. My ramble there. Leslie says, replying to Leslie McClure, no, I'm in Virginia. Hello, Virginia. It's probably warmer down there where I'm at. It's sunny today, but it doesn't still quite feel like summer yet here in Canada. Laura Wanda says, second time with you, Kennewick, Washington. I remember the last name, Urquhart, I think, but I think I'm pronouncing it wrong, but I do remember your name, Wanda. Laura Eckhart says, I use the bands while sitting, working to get strength with my quads. I will get there. You know, consistent, regular use, and use it when you need it. Sometimes when you have a knee replacement, it's the hips and the low back and, you know, all the compensating that the other side is doing. So depending on how that recovery is going, I was supposed to get a knee replacement a long time ago. That's how I got into the machines. But now I didn't. And I hope I never need to, but I do need to be careful. My knee isn't perfect by any means. And if I've overdone it, there's all these weird things that I do with pool noodles to massage it. But you got to be really careful. That the instinct is to sit on it, but we don't think about the down and getting back up. You know, sometimes any harm that happens from using a vibration plate post hip, post knee isn't the plate. It's the maneuvering of you trying to get into positions that maybe your body's not ready for yet. So try seated in a stool and just keep that leg out of the equation, or lightly put it in the center and see how things feel if you're bearing weight at this point. And I like that you're adding on where you can. Variety is the spice of life. Laura says, I used mine for the first time this morning, Rublex Pro. I had it on 12. Now I've been noticing that my left arm feels like it's on the verge of going to sleep. Slight tingling, of course. I used it hours ago. Everything else feels fine. Where were your hands positioned, Laura? I don't know if you caught my early thing, but speed 12 is kind of low. But if your hands were really wide, there's this whole art to upper body exercises. And if you're not doing exercises on the floor that are upper body related, honestly, I do suggest making sure the form and the technique is there. Upper body, especially for us ladies, if you've got any deficiencies at all, and we tend to be weaker in the upper body, we tend to position the hands wide, and that's more movement. And if you stuck it and you forced yourself, you probably over-exercised that area. If you're dealing with deficiencies, sometimes the pins and the needles or heat, an itchiness can represent an increase in blood flow, circulation. It can mean detoxification. It can also mean, neural pathways are starting to connect and talk a little better if you've had surgery or scar tissue in there. But it can also, if it's severe, it tends to, there are conditions out there, MCAS, mast cell activation syndrome, where your body has almost an overreaction, or it pre-releases antihistamines in response to activity. And so if you've had a really what seems like a severe, maybe allergic reaction, you may be dealing with an underlying condition that you're unaware of. Another reason when you're starting out, you sometimes don't know what you're dealing with if you're inactive or you've been inactive for a while. So keep it short and keep it conservative. I would say if you're doing a full-on push-up on your toes and you haven't done one in a long time, drop to the knees. Look up Debby with a Y, upper body or arms. I've done several past sessions. Again, I will drop some. We got all kinds of different skill sets and strength levels joining us today. So I try to cover it all, but it's hard for me not to ramble off in a few tangents. So thank you for those that are following along still with me. If you do feel you've overdone it, I was talking earlier about how vibration machine kind of helps you recover while you're using it. So if you're not as sore the next day as you would expect to be, it doesn't mean you didn't do enough or you didn't work hard enough. It's recovering. It's boosting lymph and circulation while you're doing that push-up. So you may not feel the soreness if you had traditionally done it on the floor, but drop to the knees, take some body weight out of the equation, and bring the hands closer. With upper body, instead of having to watch the whole video, the real trick because it's this head vibe thing. And what we do with women, when we get vibration in the neck and the shoulders, this is our deficient area. This is our stress. This is our piss off. And what happens is without realizing, we guard and we protect and we become rigid. So instead of the muscles moving and receiving the vibration, we're bouncing around like this because you're rigid like a board. So bring the hands closer to the center. And instead of looking down at your hands, push your body slightly forward so that the shoulder and the shoulders are above the hands. And you'll eliminate 95% of the head vibration. You'll feel it go from your head to more the top of the neck and the shoulders, which is actually where more you want to feel it. So relax, bring the hands closer, push the shoulders above the hands instead of your head. And I think you're going to find you can do little shoulder rolls, but drop to the knees and get used to how it feels and play around with these things before you go to toes and commit completely, unless you're conditioned now. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, you feel like if there's something else going on tomorrow and you're really sore, a little bit will actually relieve you. So because they're so effective at recovery, if you have overdone it, just a couple of minutes, drop to the knees, try seated and put the elbows on the knees as I showed in the earlier part of this, and just, expedite recovery a little bit and loosen things up. It's very easy to overdo it on these plates. And as I said earlier, if you're coming from a place of chronic pain, fatigue, sometimes when we over-exercise, we haven't been able to in so long. We haven't gotten our muscles to a level of exertion where there's going to represent any muscle soreness tomorrow. And we think there's something wrong because we haven't felt that kind of pain in a while. It shouldn't be that painful, but that's generally an indication that you've probably overdone it. So just do a little bit, get that circulation and lymph going for you, and it'll help boost recovery. So that may be all of the questions that I have today. If you are trying to type me a question and it looks like I'm ignoring you, the only way that questions come through to me are through the main Lifepro Facebook page feed. So if you're on the VIP group, if you're joining me from one of my groups that I've shared in, go to Lifepro's main Lifepro fitness page. And that's where you make a comment on the live that you see streaming there and give it about 20 to 30 seconds and I'll see it on this end. Hello, Trudy. Laura says that she was standing. And that's what you weren't doing a push-up, you were doing, so you probably stood with your feet or a little tall, perhaps. If you've got a lot of tension in there, it might feel so good while you're on it, but you might have gone a little long. Give me some more detail on how you were standing. Was it the feet wide? Was it that slow, choppy, where your body's having to resist? Usually too long and too much intensity, regardless of position, is what presents in that way. And maybe things are just starting to get moving. If it's painful, let me know. Tell me a little more detail. Trudy says, I have arthritis in both knees that makes it difficult. I needed a drink of coffee. I want to use for lymph movement and also for bone health. What would you suggest would be the best position on the plate to avoid further knee irritation? I think the knee, because it's a deficient area. And it's not always the knee. Later in life, we've all got one side that's a little weaker than the other. If it's severe and it's something like Trudy's dealing with, or maybe you've had a recent hip or back surgery, I always recommend giving your body a week or two, even 3, to sit. If you were starting a new medication, you'd give it 30 days before you adjust it or change it. So the problem that happens with the vibration plate is while you're using it, often it gives you relief. It feels good. It gives you energy. And what's 10 minutes? I hear this comment all the time. Oh, I only did 10 minutes. 10 minutes on a vibration plate is the max time setting, 15 in some cases. You bought a machine that reduces the amount of time you have to spend exercising, yet you do the max time. And often max intensity with your feet wide. So I know it feels good while you're using it, but trust me, I'd rather you do a little bit and be disappointed and be able to do more later than overdo it so much that you have a setback or you're afraid to use it at all and you won't reach out to me because you're embarrassed. Always reach out to me. Tag me at Debby with a Y. That's the easiest way to get my attention. I get loads of notifications in the day and I'd hate to miss it if you're asking me something specific. But try seated as I started in this. I've done a whole series on seated. Type Debby with a Y, seated. Vibration plate, anything into the search function, and you'll see lots of them. But a good way to just get some upper body movement and total body can be seated, as I showed in the beginning. And you'll get to a point where you just feel ready to stand. Again, bring those feet closer. You might just stand for 10, 15 seconds. and then sit back down. It's about how you progress and not doing too much too soon. And it's a great way to help expedite recovery. When you go under the knife, that scar tissue is developing from day one. So the more lymph and circulation and just movement, think more movement than exercise. And once you get to a place of feeling more confident, you're progressing and doing standing exercises. It's the consistent use that's going to help with that and the bone density in the long run. I hope that makes sense, Trudy. I don't know if Laura's coming back to me with a question or if others have questions. Leslie is saying replying, saying, yes, I'm supplementing, have lymphedema in my surgery arm, trying to get fit. Okay, so the arm, you could do a lot of the standing stuff. What I would suggest on that lymphatic arm, of course, things have been compromised there. You want to give that area maybe a little extra attention, doing some spot treatments throughout the day. But while you're doing you seated, I know that you've probably been choked up with, oh, do this kind of exercise. Oh, you should do this kind of stretch. Maybe you're doing dry brushing. Maybe you're wearing compressions. There's all kinds of things that we do or are prescribed to us with lymphedema. If you are wearing compressions, start with them. Sometimes compressions can be such a pain in the butt to get on and off. It's not worth it for just a 2-minute spot treatment. So go as you are. But, before you go to bed, if you want to give things a good movement, 2 to 3 minutes, get those compressions off, but keep your time conservative. I don't want you doing so much that you're exhilarated and you're not sleeping. And if you do too much starting out, a lot of times when you're dealing with lymphedema, lipedema, any chronic issues, really, fatigue is a common symptom. So short, purposeful sessions are going to boost and give you energy. And what you'll start noticing is over time, the energy and the stamina start lasting a little bit longer. You don't need to use it as often for that fix to occur. That's a good indication that you can also start using it a little longer. If you've overdone it and gone too long, it's going to present in most cases the same as if you overexercise. So you may notice an increase in swelling in that one side just as things get moving. If it's incredibly too big, you've done too much, and give some prep work the other areas and help the body dissipate that fluid. And I think you may notice a little itch and pins and needles more severe in those areas because of the congestion. But stick with it. Use it as needed when symptoms present. 2 to 3 minutes max, and keep those intensities low. Did I answer everybody's questions? I hope so. Well, I've almost rambled for 50 minutes today. So for those of you asking lymphedema, lipedema, I did lipedema awareness this week. In April, I did lymphedema awareness, but that tends to be my wheelhouse. Most of the sessions I do here, I know I'm over conservative, but like I say, 70 to 80% of people are dealing with something. If you are a trained athlete and you're joining me today and you're ready to bring it on, your body still needs time to assimilate and get used to this new stimulus. A lot of my gym goers love using it pre-gym or post-gym for the recovery. They work on it for their flexibility, balance training. Use the disciplines that you know. So if you do yoga and you do Pilates, you're going to have an advantage on the breathing, the proprioception, those type of things. Do the moves that you want to work on in class. What are the ones that you're trying to improve? What are your deficiencies? A plate can be an ultimate complement to other activities. And for those that lack the ability to get out or, just aren't the gym type, you can do more, but it's also a great complement to other things, the gardening, the golfing. It's that time of year where we're active in other ways. Don't discount, a couple 3 minutes here and there just before you head out the door or just after you come in from the garden to keep all that recovery and other good work going as well. Well, I think I'm going to let you guys go because I've probably rambled a few of you to sleep. For those of you watching this on a recorded basis, I am trying to do this every Saturday, first Saturday of the month. This week, I'm doing a little bit earlier. So if you preferred my later time, if you prefer early, if there's specific things that you'd like to see and not really have me discuss about on camera, just tag me at Debby with a Y, and I'll be happy to address those or offer some of the sessions. Once I get wrapped up here, I will do a post to my more popular or more common sessions, a lot of common questions that you guys ask. And be conservative, have fun with it, use it regularly. Remember, when you move, lymph moves. And as far as the positions, you are only limited by your imagination and your range of motion. And we're here every week with our own styles and our own take on these. There's no one way to use a plate. This is just my approach, and I hope I've offered insight to those of you that have maybe been fearful or haven't perhaps yet taken it out of the box. Take it out of the box, set it up today. I've got your hand virtually here on the other end of the screen, and I look forward to you feeling better very soon. Thanks for joining me today, guys. Kim says great information. Thank you very much for being here today. Kim's on the West Coast in Vancouver Island. Hopefully it's nice and summery. And Kim's a big rock girl, so I hope you're out picking some rocks today. I'll put a couple heart-shaped ones out there for you somewhere. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, everyone that joined me today. And again, like I say, for those of you watching me on a recorded basis, please share this far and wide and help Lifepro, have everyone out there using vibration plates having a better experience. It's not quite Father's Day yet, but I know Roseanne's got a special session coming up for that, where she's working out with her man. And there's some really good deals on Lifepro's site as well. Whether you're shopping direct in the USA through Lifepro, always check there first, but you can also shop on Amazon in a number of countries. So have a great weekend, you guys. I look forward to seeing you next week. I'm going to talk about some dad tips and some Father's Day deals. Wendy, thank you for joining me. Just unboxed this morning and did 2 mini-seated. Amazing. Oh, I'm so perfect. See, this is why I've been doing this on the weekend, because that's when you tend to open it up and rip it up. So use it more often in short sessions. Don't work too hard. And Wendy, I want some feedback on today's session. Type some comments and let me know what you thought about today. And I really hope it helps you navigate a more comfortable experience with your plate. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, Laura. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Shake away.